A couple things about me. I love my family, I love my girlfriend, I love my career, like finance, I love video games, as you can tell from half this channel, and lastly, I love comic books, which you can tell from the other half of this channel. I ran a poll recently on what is preferred for this channel, and I'm really happy to see that a healthy mix of both comics and video games won in the end. This really excites me because I can bounce around from whichever topic I like without really being beholden to one or the other. And with that freedom allows me to delve deeper into videos and talk about some lesser known stuff. And who's more lesser known to the average fan than SuperBoy-Prime? Before I talk about this guy and untackle his whole thing, I want to lead into just how happy I am as a Superman fan. Like a standard Superman fan, this guy. In 2022, when the brand new slate of DC films got announced, the one I was undeniably the most excited for was James Gunn's Superman. There's really like 10 things of media I've been this excited for in my life, and this is definitely one of them. And over the next 2 to 3 years, I'm really glad that it actually panned out and lived up to the hype. I'm happy to say that I was there on opening night, and then again the next day at home, and then a week later with friends. And just for good measure, my apartment was holding this little movie night projector thing by the pool for like an end of the summer thing for all the families, and of course, it was Superman. It's such a breath of fresh air for both the genre and the character. It's such a tight, compact movie, but it leaves so much more to want out of the audience. It really just feels that you're peering into another week of Clark's life instead of a big climax of his career. Nothing feels that it's going through the motions and everybody's giving it all. Those 2 weeks after release really made people feel that everything was going to be okay. And what else is there? Adventures of Superman has 3 well-regarded series that I will check out one day. Constantly getting rumors of a new game for the character. And although he's the absolute title that I have the least familiarity with, I know he has his fans. They got some good stuff cooking. Something about Black Adam. Oh, there he is. His cousin's getting a movie this year, KFC meal. People are pretty excited. And to top it all off, a sequel to the Superman movie is slated for next year. So things are in a pretty good spot. Okay, so now let's see what this guy's up to. All right, I'll go back on what I said a little bit earlier. SuperBoy-Prime is pretty known. A lot of comic fans eventually just hear his name once or twice and sort of pick up context clues, but I'm not too sure many are familiar with him. He has like a whole deal going on. It's pretty specific, and it does actually play a lot into this comic. So allow me to explain. Shout out to Comicstorian for the refresher, and I wish my deepest condolences to his family. So for the viewers that don't know, SuperBoy-Prime is from the Prime Earth. It's a universe where all the DC superheroes are just publicized in comic books and sold to the public. So, like us. They try to work it in, the writers of these comics tap into the multiverse for inspiration, but it's just, for simplicity, it's just Earth. Until a boy shows up from space, and his parents decide to name him Clark Kent, after the in-universe comic character, which is fair, I guess. I see a lot of people naming their kids after pop culture characters these days, like here's Bruce, and Diana, and Bane. But whatever, this kid's named Clark regardless if he gets made fun of or not. And subsequently, he is picked on most of his life for his name until he eventually starts to get powers from a nearby meteor, which is like, what are the odds? And this is even easier for him since he knows exactly what to do. He just goes into a comic book shop and reads everything about Superman. So, okay, cool, he's this universe of Superman. And after many years of adventures, his universe is eventually enlisted into the gigantic crossover called Crisis of Infinite Earths, where like all the other universes is destroyed to form this one core universe that is made mostly to clean up continuity. The villain of this story is the Anti-Monitor. Keep in mind of this design. So after the destruction of his world and being held in a pocket dimension for many years, the Superboy from the Prime universe, SuperBoy-Prime if you will, starts to manifest a certain level of like fictional awareness. He did come from a universe where all of this was in comic books, so I guess it's sort of understandable why he would get this level of metatextual familiarity. It tracks, as well as those absurd feats that come attributed to him coming from those wacky 70s comics. If anyone's a fan of manga, it's like how Gear 5 allows Luffy to tap into all that Looney Tunes shit, and it just textualized within the universe. But back to SuperBoy-Prime. So he's grown very powerful and very aware of himself, and eventually this drives him insane to lead to this big punch in reality, breaking a hole into it. This is probably his biggest thing. This one big punch is sort of a running gag within the DC fandom, as it's sort of used to just brush any continuity errors under the rug as a result of his big reality warping punch. Like his biggest example, if you want the second Robin Jason Todd back, but you don't want to work out any real reason why he's back, just say he came back in the big punch. So whatever, Superboy is back. He goes to the main universe and runs into the current Superboy. There's been a ton of Superboys over the years, usually clones. This one from the 90s looks like this, and this one looks like this. When SuperBoy-Prime shows up, he fights this one. And after the combined efforts of half the planet, SuperBoy-Prime is yet again trapped within a pocket dimension. This time it's from the Flash, so it's the Speed Force. And of course, he breaks out again. Now sporting the Anti-Monitor armor, since those two characters are sort of linked in the cultural osmosis. It's probably an in-lore reason, but it's one of those rules of cool thing that I don't need to know. Fast forward a bunch of more years of him showing back up and getting defeated to right where we are now. Issue 36 of the main Superman ongoing from 2023. This issue was released in March of 2025. At the time, I was recovering from a broken neck, so I thought it was a good time to start reading. But I sort of want to waited for more issues to come out to let the story move on a little bit. There are currently 3 issues out right now, and 4th one is on the way in a couple days. I implore you to check it out after watching this video. This is more of a sampler than a review of the full run. Alright, so let's start. first issue by Joshua Williamson and art by the talented Dana Moore starts with a small prelude page. Obviously, since Superboy-Prime has these fourth wall powers, it's a good way to settle us in as readers. He acknowledges how hectic the mainline universe has been these last couple of years, promises a small, breezy story that focuses on characters and heart. I like this. This acts as a good break from whatever came before and gets everyone up to speed on who this guy is in one small page. And if anyone's still confused, we get a small text blurb when the comic starts itself. The main Superman disappeared after winning that DC KO tournament that they kept showing us for months. And on top of that, Lois's big crossover powers have also faded away. So it seems everyone's still reeling back from what happened in those last couple issues of KO. We really start with Lois's POV for the first couple of pages. Mr. Terrific stories comforting her about Superman's disappearance, but she's sort of relatively fine and used to it at this point. We get to see a lot of cameos from heroes in the Watchtower during this downtime. As a side note, as much as I enjoy a strong core Justice League team, I really love when the roster expands over the years to include pretty much almost every active hero on the planet. This is what I can't wait for in the new movie universe. I have no doubt that we'll eventually get to see so many different team-ups and dynamics from all these different heroes that you never really get to see. Like, until they get popular enough to be put on starting teams, general audiences will never be introduced to anyone on this page. Like, this guy's just riding a horse to the halls. But Lois overhears Zatanna and some of the other women of the league gawking over some unseen character. It's Superboy-Prime doing like Bugs Bunny level workouts. After his involvement in the last event, Mr. Terrific doesn't really know what to do with him. Sure, he helped out, but he's seen as a maniac hell-bent on destroying the world. Or at least he was. And if you're still not sure of the big hook of the story, it acts as a pretty ambitious redemption arc for this character, bringing him hopefully into the fold of the main DC universe that he can just sort of coexist without immediate demise. And as fascinating as Mr. Terrific is with his powers, having every hero and villain's lives just be sort of common knowledge to him is really dangerous. So something's got to be done with him. Cut to Lois bringing him to Metropolis to get him a job in the mailroom. Superboy-Prime's never really been to this universe outside of crossovers or world-ending events, so he kind of just finds it exciting to live here for a while. So he takes her up on this, but really he just wants to prove to himself that he's worthy of being Superman. We see this really fun page where he envisions his new future as the premier Superman in comics, inserting himself into a bunch of popular covers, with the ultimate goal of getting his very own #1 issue, which I find the hesitancy to not make this a Superboy-Prime #1 fascinating from a corporate perspective. Williamson's other book, Iron Man, is known for getting #1s literally every 10 issues. It's really shocking to see the restraint. To be fair, Superboy just told us that this is sort of going to be a one-and-done story before it gets back to the main stuff. Back to the main book, Lois has no idea what he's talking about with all this, but he's excited to see his ambition, which is, you know, a classic comic trope when dealing with fourth wall breaking characters. But luckily, this book is less of, oh, I know I'm in a comic, I'm going to talk about it all the time, and more of, I know comics, and now I'm inside of one. He's just like us, being excited when a deep-cut character gets used in fights, and just having an overall good time. And to take this fourth wall stuff even deeper, he actually goes off script for a moment, I think. And what would otherwise be a pretty tired trope, we see the actual illustrations of the comic as he's reflecting on what he's done, until he ultimately snaps back into reality. I think this is good when done tastefully. I do wonder what that's going to be about, though. Cutting over to a comic book shop with the Help Wanted sign on it. I know this doesn't really need to be said to the viewers of this video, but if you don't already, you should really check out your local comic book shop. It's sort of an integral part of this industry, and I really would hate to see them go under. Actually, it's early enough in this book, you can probably go and ask for all 3 issues. They probably still have it in stock. It's such a ubiquitous part of this fandom to go get your issues every month and get the bags and borders right then and there at checkout, if you can afford it, obviously. But that's exactly what our main lead does. He walks in to go get his monthly issues and ends up getting a job there. He's able to bag and border really quick to impress the staff. He really is just like us. After that, we wind down into the new status quo of the comic. Superboy-Prime works at a comic book shop that allows him to flex his very specific muscles and gets in his own apartment and presumably hosts a small eventual supporting cast. I assume it's these 2 girls. He moves in, he compliments Lois on her 1958 comic run and gets straight to work. But as the issue starts to close, we see one of my favorite Superman villains, Manchester Black, start to sort of hovering there like a ghost. And look at that, he even sees the viewer and acknowledges us. So I assume these 2 are going to be perfect for each other. So that was issue 1, definitely a big swing, but still committing to his declaration of a small, relaxing story, literally going back to basics for the guy. He's a Superman who wants to do better and follow in his hero's footsteps. On to issue 2. Cutting forward to issue 2, it seems that the real-world month between issues actually took place while Prime is recapping his week while having breakfast with Ma and Pa Kent, Superman's parents, which are kind of his parents, sort of. I don't know. All while morbidly praising their role in Superman's fiction, commenting on how certain fans and writers argue on whether they get in the way or bolster Superman stories. Superman being able to do anything but save the life of his father from a heart attack is a beautifully rich story, but it doesn't always need to be done in every ongoing universe. It gives the character a good safe place to return to after his big adventures. So I think they're integral. I'm glad we agree. But as Prime is adjusting to his new life, he's under the watchful eyes of like an 1/8 of the Justice League who have been tasked to watch him, as well as some added pressure from his comic book store boss about being late. So he's sort of out to prove himself as best as he can. He does this while visiting some premier DC locations that he's a fan of, like Crime Alley, where he eventually runs into Damien, fourth Robin, a character that he's not really that familiar with since he debuted while he was in prison, but a character who shares a lot of the similar traits with him, or at least he thinks that he does. He asks him for advice and redemption arcs while they fight Clayface. It's a really fun fight. I like any action set piece that involves Clayface, since I think there's so much you can do with him. I'm excited for his movie as well as that 6-issue miniseries they're doing this July called Clayface Celebrity Dirt, and honestly, he honestly gets a pretty good attempt on him with this stupid stunt of him pretending to be the actual Superman who's coming back to reassure him that everything's going to be okay and just to go home. I guess he picked up on enough context clues to just try it out. But as Superboy throws the bomb into space, he gets another one of those sketched scenes. I said before that I thought this was him going off script, but refrain from that judgment because it shows a tangible voice showing him could be like if he went back to his old ways. See him killing Jaime the Blue Beetle, trying to coerce him and to just punch his way out of this, alluding to whatever voice this is trying to re-trigger the big reality punch to benefit from it in some way. After this, he blacks out and Damien keeps guard over him. They mention that it's a big risk for him since the GCPD are after him, which I like that detail because I just finished covering the Batman ongoing where that's an active plot point. But after a nice heart-to-heart with Damien about change, Superboy realizes that he's late for work, losing that employee of the month thing that he was aiming for at the beginning of the issue. But cut back to present day after explaining this all to the Kents, Ma Kent goes out to the League to talk to them. Fellow Super family member Power Girl is close enough that she actually flies down to hear her out. It really shows how much respect and stake she has in the League after they just call their mission off because she said so. She insists that they all give Prime a chance. I forgot to mention earlier in the recap, but Prime was helping this girl with a comic recommendation, and we catch up with her as she's heading home just to reveal that she's like a witch and has ulterior motives for him. Damn, this is one of my least favorite tropes in comics. The love interest that's secretly a villain and trying to just gain insight on the hero. But she was literally shown for 1 second, so it's not really that big of a deal. And that was issue 2. I like it, and I'm really giving this guy a shot. I think Williamson laid a really good groundwork for some fun stories that can be told with this premise. I can't wait to see where it goes. All right, issue 3. The final issue out right now, we pick up right on that cliffhanger on the cover with this girl named Witchfire. Witchfire is a minor Wonder Woman character and appeared in Earth Prime comics, which is duh, that's kind of fitting for her to be the first villain of this arc. But her plan is to lure Prime into rescuing her after his shift, until she finds out he has powers and just sort of bails because it's out of her scope. It doesn't even seem like she wants to fight him or anything, really just sort of needs to sacrifice for whatever her goal is. Something about a demon. But this is enough of a call to action to get Superboy in on the plan, so they go undercover in some gothic rave. She gives a little update on herself. Her name is Rebecca, and it's mostly what I said just a couple seconds ago. I guess I never needed to read her wiki. I'm glad they're fleshing out their relationship a little bit here. My fears of the big betrayal cliche have sort of gone away. They catch up a bit on their lives until we get a super cool page. It's just them walking down into the pits of hell or something, but it's entirely upside down except for Prime, who's in the middle and can tell the perspective shift is happening since I assume he can just see the visual change. This is a nice touch. After that, we get a beautiful page spread of these creatures that they're about to fight with. Again, huge shout outs to the artists of Dan Mora and the colorists of Alejandro Sanchez. Fantastic work. After that, we get to see Rebecca let loose and show her powers a little bit. And wow. Once they escape, they start to grow a little closer until Superboy starts shutting down and saying gibberish until he's pulled through the comic into the page at the end of the issue. You actually get to see the ad that they always show. As someone who's seen these kind of ads a million times in their absolute Batman issues, I'm a big fan of this. And it was revealed that Manchester Black from the issue 1 cliffhanger is trying to pull him through to get him to restore his world. Like I theorized, he's trying to re-trigger the big reality punch. He actually has a really good counter to him because he spits in the face of his redemption arc thing since it did not work out for him in the past. So I think he's a really good antithesis to Prime. But Prime isn't really effing with this, so he sends him back to, wow, straight into the middle of Infinite Crisis. This isn't a good enough cliffhanger. I don't know what is for this. And you can tell that the writer is just really enjoying himself after all the chaos that came before. And like I said in my Batman video, that's exactly what I like in these ongoing smaller breather stories that you just kind of pick up off the shelf and read without too much commitment before or after. Definitely adding this to my monthly pull list. I cannot wait for issue 4. It's too early to have a strong concrete grasp on the story, but I'm definitely hooked, and I really hope everyone that made it this far is feeling the same. And if not, tell me about it. If this gets more legs on it, I would totally do a part 2 to pick up where this left off. But until then, goodbye.